Hello, everyone. My name is Lindsay. Welcome to Library of Lindsay. For those that are new here, I talk about bookish things, things that I'm passionate about. I also probably will post about travel and just different things in general. So if you want to stick around, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. But let's get into today's video. So today, I'm going to be talking about why I no longer use Goodreads. To provide some background context on Goodreads, I was curious myself kind of what the history was of Goodreads, so I did a little bit of research to understand it. Goodreads was actually founded in 2006 by a person named Otis Chandler, who basically at the time just really wanted to create a space where he could share and other people can share book recommendations, talk about what they were reading, and just have a community of readers online. This platform was purchased by Amazon in 2013, along with another platform that they were kind of testing to see which one would rise to the ranks. Goodreads was the one that succeeded. So Amazon has now owned Goodreads since 2013. And basically, at least for myself, it looks like it's been owned from 2013 and not updated. Back then in 2013, it pissed people off then that Amazon was purchasing this type of platform because that vertical integration with them being like a huge bookseller in the space now and having Goodreads, it was concerning to a lot of people on the monopolization that Amazon is trying to create in the publishing space. Ever since then, Amazon has owned Goodreads. Many people would say, including myself, that Amazon is leaving it out to dry, meaning that they're not doing much to update it, but they're still using it for a specific reason, which I'll get to in a second. The UI is not that great. They still haven't added features that readers have been asking for decades. Literally decades now at this point, or a decade at least. But because it's the most popular app, because it's integrated with Amazon, there are 150 million users on this platform. Users have been asking for half stars, for other options besides currently reading, wanting to read, and read options on Goodreads. There are other features that Goodreads just hasn't updated literally ever. And there's no way for users to communicate with Amazon on what they want updated from Goodreads. Goodreads has just kind of been there that people use because it's not only the most popular platform and it's not just integrated with Amazon, is connected to people's Kindles. So people are able to review on Goodreads after they finish a book on a Kindle, and Kindle is the most popular e-reader. So it all works in an ecosystem together. Goodreads being the most popular platform being used on a Kindle, there's going to be a lot of use. Since Goodreads is so review heavy, titles are really subject to review bombing. Like there's not a lot of room for anything else besides just putting the 1 through 5 star reviews. If pop culture events occur or things happen where people want to review bomb a title, and what that means is basically people go in even if they haven't read the book or even if the book's not out yet and like give it 1 star or 0 stars. This can really negatively impact authors as people like myself have stated, I will not read any book that is less than a 3.5 star on Goodreads. Or I will not read a book that doesn't have an average rating of 4 stars on Goodreads. And so this is really detrimental to authors and to specific titles, especially small authors that are trying to get boots off the ground. It being so review heavy and not kind of a diverse set of statistics and not a diverse set of information, it could be potentially detrimental and has been detrimental to some of the authors out there. But it's essential for authors and titles to be on Goodreads just because of the publishing space, because of the visibility, and people will probably request to have that book added anyway, especially if it's a popular one. Titles are subject to just being on Goodreads because it's a part of the program. My opinion on Goodreads has definitely changed as I realized that Amazon was never going to update this platform how I wanted it to. And I realized that once I was switching away from Audible and switching away from my Kindle, it didn't really make sense to continue using Goodreads when there are so many other innovative platforms out there. I also did a little bit of research on why Amazon purchased Goodreads and came to the conclusion that Amazon purchased this platform not to help readers, which, wow, shocker, right? But they purchased it as a marketing tool. What Amazon does is they push out the top 100 books that are happening right now. They market it on Goodreads, on these lists or on these top books of 2024 or what have you. People go and buy them. People use their Kindle. They review them on Goodreads and the cycle continues. Unlike what Otis Chandler wanted when he started this platform in 2006, Amazon has changed it to, okay, instead of giving you a diverse set of new books that we can recommend, let's just use the most popular books over and over again in these lists to get more and more business because we know these are reliable. We know these have high reviews. For me, I wasn't using Goodreads to find books. I wasn't using Goodreads to rate books. So why would I use Goodreads? I realized this. And with all of that, I was looking for a different type of platform. I'm a big fan of Libro FM, and Libro FM has been in collaboration with The StoryGraph, which is another book alternative to Goodreads. And so I want to talk a little bit about why I decided to change to, instead of using Goodreads all the time to track my book information, to using The StoryGraph. To give a background context like I did with Goodreads, The StoryGraph was created by Nadia Odunayo, but she is so cool. She basically started this app because she wanted to track books. on the side. She learned to code to create this app for herself. She was just like, yeah, I want an alternative to Goodreads that has more statistics, that's more user friendly. And so she learned not only to figure this out, but she learned how to code. She now has 3 team members working on this app. And that's where it all started. It was to make a Amazon free alternative to Goodreads. They make it actually pretty simple to switch over. You could actually port your Goodreads information into the StoryGraph. So it takes like a minute or two to get all of your information over into the app, which was a huge plus for me because I was really afraid that I was going to have to manually do everything, either put my read books or have my to be read books in the StoryGraph, but they have a program to do it all for you. The reason why I switched to the StoryGraph and not another alternative like Fable is because it's quite larger and they have a lot of ongoing features that are constantly being updated. One is their data analytics, which is by far superior to Goodreads or anything else that I've ever seen. It talks about the pages you've read, the minutes you've listened to. It talks about the types of books, the moods that you're listening to. There are just so many different variables that they can take into consideration when creating data for you. And they also have monthly wrap-ups that you can download now. StoryGraph is constantly updating their features. They even have an open roadmap page on their website where users can go in and actually suggest things for them to update, and they listen to their user base. Back in 2023, they reported that they hit 2 million users on the StoryGraph, but that was in 2023. Last year, the StoryGraph kind of went viral a little bit, so my guess is that has at least doubled to 4 million users. The StoryGraph is constantly growing, and I see more and more people on the platform all the time, as I see it in the reviews and the different information that when I go look for a book, more and more reviews are coming to the StoryGraph, which tells me more people are like me and are switching from Goodreads to the StoryGraph, which is really cool. Other things that I want to mention that they highlight is data analytics. They have a book club integration. They also do giveaways like Goodreads. It's easy to port your information from Goodreads to the StoryGraph, and it's all free. You don't have to pay anything for this extra information. There is a premium plus membership for $5 a month. I used to be subscribed. I'm now trying to save money and I unsubscribed. It just basically gave me extra features so I could filter the data different ways. But everything you would ever want is free on the platform. And that was their goal, was to make a free alternative to Amazon's Goodreads. Some of the only downsides that I've had, and honestly, this is the same thread as all the Amazon alternative anythings these days, is sometimes the books just aren't on the StoryGraph, and so I have to manually add them myself. So for example, if I'm listening to an audiobook of something and only the digital format or the paperback format, which is really cool, the StoryGraph has different editions based off of the type, and you can actually see what type of media you're reading. If the type of media that I'm reading is different than the type that exists, I just have to create that book listing. It takes 2 minutes. As more users come to the StoryGraph, this will happen less and less for me. They also have something called librarians, which those people are volunteers that work in creating all of the new listings for these books. So that way when I go to search for a book, it's there. But this rarely happens, but it has happened to me a few times where I go to look for a book and it's not there and I have to add it myself, which is okay. I mean, it happens. I currently use a Kobo e-reader. I know on Goodreads, when you highlight on your Kindle, it shows up in your Goodreads highlights. There's no integration on either Kindle or Kobo or whatever from the StoryGraph to connect your highlights to those digital e-readers and vice versa to that platform. So I also wanted to highlight that as well as kind of a negative or a downside to switching to the StoryGraph. Honestly, it's really disappointing because Goodreads had so much potential, but Amazon purchasing it basically killed the app. Now it's just being used as a marketing tool, and it makes me so sad to see someone's dream be kind of squished in that regard. But I'm happy that there are other people out there like Nadia that are creating the StoryGraph that are trying to continue that dream of having a space that is free for people and users to share their information about books, share what they're reading, find new book recommendations in a place that isn't trying to, cash grab the consumer, if that makes sense. Honestly, the StoryGraph is a great alternative to Goodreads. I will say, and I know this title, I don't use Goodreads, right? Like I use the StoryGraph, but I do have Goodreads still downloaded on my phone because there are some times when I'm looking up a book and if it's not on the StoryGraph, I immediately switch to Goodreads because 10 out of 10 times it'll be on Goodreads just to look up more information about it. But I log and keep track of everything on the StoryGraph. So once more users come to the StoryGraph, I don't see that I will ever need to use Goodreads literally ever again. Right now, I'm just trying to fill that knowledge gap of sometimes the StoryGraph does not have the books that I'm looking for at that time when I'm just searching a book. I do see that going away and me deleting the app altogether off of my phone. And talking to you, the reader, this is the perfect time to jump into the StoryGraph. I am not sponsored by them at all. I just really appreciate their mission. It's time to jump in if you really are looking for a Goodreads alternative because it's not like this is a up-and-coming beta-tested app. This has been an app that has been tested for a few years now and is ready for everyday users to jump on and start using it. I highly recommend switching. You could do what I'm doing right now and have both and use StoryGraph to see like more in-depth stats, but also have Goodreads in the background just in case you need to search that thing. But I just wanted to explain to you, like, it is ready to be used by the everyday reader, and I'm really excited to see where it goes in the future. I'm also excited because publishing houses have been using the StoryGraph as an opportunity to do giveaways similar to how Goodreads does giveaways. So I do see a future where the publishing industry does take the StoryGraph as seriously as Goodreads. I think it's just only a matter of time. Thank you for watching. That's all I have on this topic, but I would love to hear if you use the StoryGraph, if you use Fable, which I'm not as familiar with, if you just use Goodreads, or if you use nothing and you don't track your books at all. That would be really interesting to hear about as well, because I feel like nowadays everyone tracks their books. But thank you all for watching. I appreciate your time. Please, if you could give this video a like and subscribe, that would be much appreciated. And I'll see you all in the next one.